Christian, do you want to introduce?
Yes. Today now we have worked a lot, and all the sessions have been already finished, and we have had, of course, a wrap-up of the sessions yesterday evening and this afternoon. But what we wanted to do with our Roland Berger is to fix a roadmap or conclusions that can make the people think that this edition is going to be efficient, is going to give insight and to give some targets for all the stakeholders of this industry. So Didier is going to show and to wrap up with in figures and in facts what the Roland Berger Consulting Group have understood and resume in some slides, and then I will pick all the whole picture with 5 different actions that we have defined all together.
Thanks a lot, Christian. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot. What we will show in the next few minutes, it's in fact the resume of what you have developed over the last 2 days. And coming from maybe last year, when we was maybe more on an awareness period, right now we are really convinced on what we have seen and heard during the 2 days that something changed. And as we could see on that slide, that killing slide as a consultant, maybe you could go on the next slide. Yes, it's Friday. Oh, yeah, yes. Yes, it comes. Thank you. So that's just to show that awareness for last year, and we can see it's a limited impact on the sustainability, on the ESG, and what we would like to show as a photo, but maybe next year and years after years we can see that development. We hope so. That's really a positive feedback from the 2 days, that we saw a lot of pilots, some actions, some concrete levers already implemented or planned to do, with local initiatives, with success, yes, failures, and a lot of the discussion around on that 2 days also address some difficulties, yes, but based on that photo, we are really convinced that the rollouts could happen on the next years regarding the global cooperation, how to really implement and speed up the cooperation between the whole players, establish maybe new regulations, but not to constrain, but to speed up innovation, transformation, investment, trust, education on all the shareholders for sustainable travel. So, and investment at scale, because as you can see, and what we heard, it's a lot of technology, tech are there, but the key topic is who will move the first to secure his own competitiveness and also to secure the transformation of the industry. So having said that, it's starting to reel now, what we can say, and remember of what at stake. So maybe a few slides on, yes, we have the Paris Agreement. Maybe we have a topic with, okay, so we have the Paris Agreement. It's, okay, a huge investment, a lot of things to do in the global emissions, but 2 weeks ago, we have at the ICAO, the signatures, the validation of 194 countries who validate the long-term ambition goal. It's a first very good start for the, and you will see for the investment for reduction CO2 emission for aviation, and you will see aviation, it's something should be addressed for sustainable travel. You also could see that, and you know, a lot of players act already around regulation compliance, around investor risk mitigation, on how the private equity or the stakeholders really invest in the industry with such ESG KPIs. Consumers pushing a lot, media as we saw or as we heard a few minutes ago, also are influencing a lot such a transformation, and a lot of bodies, regulators or association around have a very strong conviction on, yes, it's not an open question, it's just now something we need to implement for the transformation of our industry. What we can also see is we have some good news. It's not only cost, it's not only investment. There are no return on investment. As we can see for some companies on the stocks, that's the companies who are starting to really start to combat and fight against the climate change. There's already some real increase or better market performance than some others, 120% for those of the company who has really implement some real and transformative sustainability plan. Yes, but it's not only small actions to limit 2 degrees on the swimming pool. Yes, it's great for sure, but what is in front of us, it's with the evolution of the cost of the energy, the evolution of the CO2 emission and the pressure on the states. What is at risk is 50% by 2050 of the revenues of the margin of the companies. So that means we need to find the way for a stronger reshaping, reframing business model on the industry. And we have to focus on all the players, all the subsegments on the industry. But yes, transportation is at stake. That's key. It's representing 5% out of the 7% of the global CO2 emission for travel. And transportation, it's air, it's road, it's rail, it's sometimes vessel, ships. So that's a huge topic, should be addressed. So that's some figures to keep in mind what is in front of you, in front of us. Last year, you already defined, with maybe an awareness, position, strategy, stand, the five commitments. What we did during the 2 days, and frankly speaking, also when we prepare some meeting on the roundtable, that we get from the panelists some information to have the best understanding on what could be the 5 new commitments. So we reframed the 5 commitments with those of ones. First, it's collaborate, so collaborate more within the whole industry, across private, across public, and both. It's also offer, and we have that roundtable around how to reduce the carbon emission. The third is the engagement towards individual, how to engage for the people to limit the impact on the climate, and not only on the climate. Investment, as also you saw, it's not billion but trillion, but yes, okay, there is some cash, but they need to have the right project with the right framework to secure a return on investment. And the last one is improve social impact, to keep people with the right vision, purpose, and willingness to work on that very nice industry as travel is. That's the 5 commitments, because I have not ticked the button. So what we have done during the 2 days is to collect all the levels, actions you shared during those days, and you will have the full document at the end of the forum, beginning of next week, with the whole level of details and the consolidation, because we would like during that 2 days, and that's exactly what you have done. Last year maybe it was the why and a little bit the what. This year it's a little bit more what and how to implement the transformation of the industry. So on the first one, regarding cooperation, what's already we can see as a diagnosis, it's Collaboration within the industries in all subsegments have started. As you have seen, all the testimonials of your peers that they have already done a lot of things to reduce the degrees of whatever to reduce the CO2s. What's not already done, it's collaboration across industries between all the subsegments as it's a global industries. And also the private and public and private cooperation. There's a lot of talks sometimes and not enough actions, but they're starting to have some first framework for create some collaboration between public and private. But that's something we estimate that also could be increased, of course, in the future. So you have there, and we structure all the levels during the 2 days on two sides. On the left, it's governments and regulatory bodies, what could happen, what could be some, how to monitor, to compel, to regulate, to subsidize. And on the right side, you find some, what the industries, the companies, the privates could do. It's at this stage a long list, should be prioritized, should be maybe comments, and that's a first livre blanc, maybe to help the industry to work on the very concrete direction. How to improve operations, use alternative energy, improve existing infrastructure, and develop maybe a new technology, a new innovation, and at the end of the day, maybe some evolution on the business models. Then we have engagement towards individual impact as the second pillar, the second commitment. And it's coming from a lot of pressure, yes, today, but that will also increase for, yes, the millennials and the Gen Zers. Yeah. Yes, we are. And we have the consumer behaviors who will continue to push with the media, with the KPIs, with all the influence and the maturity regarding sustainability. So all of those will be tackled with new offers, of course, with what you will implement. So that means new offers, new communication, education to engage the all stakeholders around. So from the government, that means how to inform, how to protect, how to promote, and how to give some framework for incentives to encourage people for use alternative or the best travel mode. It's not airlines again, rail. It's the best of the two modes. Sometimes you need to travel by plane, sometimes it's by train, sometimes it's both in the intermodality. So all of those should be coordinated by the government and some regulatory bodies. And some companies, of course, it's communicating, and encourage for action of their staff, action for the ecosystem, their subcontractor, for their clients also, in such evolution to keep in mind what they could do at their level as a staff, at their level as a client for optimized the CO2 emission or whatever the impact on the climate the travel could do from their perspective. Then is sustainable travel investment. So we shared a lot of topics regarding such investment. Yes, the cash is there, but if we have not the framework, if we have not some cooperation, as maybe it's not the same scale, but many years ago when some airlines need to have some sharing data regarding the stocks, regarding the price, they have decided to team up to develop the GDS, Global Distribution System. So it's not the same scale, but we had at that, on that period such a cooperation. And now it's not a subsegment of airlines, that should be also hospitality, and all the players who should cooperate to attract some finance for some transformation. So how to invest, how to develop some new standards to secure such a new business model, and how to incentive also the shareholders on that perspective. That's also something, it's quite new, or if it's not new, we have not found a lot of levers on that topic, so a lot should be still implemented. It's this one. So on the left side, it's all regarding the employees. On the right, regarding communities, where the travel have some impact. So that means on the left, it's all the topics regarding giving some vision, purpose to the people who are working, to your staff who are working on the travel industry. It's also to work on some working conditions in some countries, and even in the mature country. And it's how to manage the well balance regarding payments, compensation, and the job and the work they are doing. And on the right, it's how to secure some damage that could happen with the over-tourism. Yes, okay, Venice, Vinci, we know that it's a topic, but it's not only on that city. That's a topic that could happen on a lot of everywhere, where you could have some critical mass on some hotels, hospitalities, travel. So that's something should be addressed by some local communities. And so that means to improve that social impact, because we have a key in France, it's 8% of the total GDPs, it's millions of jobs and hundreds of jobs at the world planet level. So that's why the companies need to continue to attract and find the way to train them. So to find maybe some new staff, as also shared with, by Bellambra this morning, how to really train and give that a purpose to the new staff, to retain and of course to educate and continue to educate to avoid to have too many people leaving that industry. But the government has also a lot of things to do for finding the right university and how also they could educate the people to explain that, yes, that's an industry, a sustainable one. We need to continue to invest on the travel industry because it's key, not for people only to have some vacation, but it's true for the well-balanced of the world. So they should also regulate, of course, and engage local communities. That's a lot of, and sorry for that, a lot of flavors of very, very concrete actions. You could read next week, and maybe that could, under the Award for Travel Coordination, to have some discussion after that 2 days, if it's starting a new day. And all of those 5 gave us with Christian. To say, but it's a sentence of Christian. Let's stop talking, just do it. And to explain if we have maybe 5 words or 5 topics that could be considered as key for all of the industries, that will be as an helicopter view of that 2 days, cross-sector collaboration. It's really transversal. It's something, yes, all the panelists are claiming for having more cooperation, but what does it mean? Something they need, of course, to break the silos. And some associations who are working over the last decades maybe need to rethink how to work together. That should be something to address. Investment, meta-scale, yes, some cash are there, but, and the but we have already explained, it's how to find the right purpose vehicle for such investments, protected by some long-term scale framework. It's also to increase the power of the states, the really engagement, involvement of the regulatory bodies support, whatever the support that could be. They should be stronger and stronger and together. They also, we could find a clear, coordinate communication. It's communication for the staff, it's communication for the shareholders, and of course communication for the clients. And communication needs also how to educate, to maximize the use of technology, to give the right data with the right information. Yesterday we can see on the carbon offsetting group that it's just a mess to get the right data, understandable and trust data for the clients. So that's for sure a topic should be as a priority one. And of course the last one, based on all of those, it's to get systematic measurements and reportings. So that means maybe labels, so maybe that means trust party to validate some certification of the improvement of each companies or at state level, destination level, and all of that frame should be right now detailed and implement to scale up as we have shown on the first slide. So thanks a lot for your attention, and maybe Christian, you would like to add some words
one
on
sentence,
that.
and only one sentence, because you're very complete. We have jumped from action to action, and I mean to add these three letters. It means a lot. In fact, because action means that now we have some action point to emphasize. It is a cross collaboration, of course. It is inter-sector, but each sector has to inspire itself from this roadmap. But that's a roadmap, in fact, and we are going to emphasize this in the following months, just to make all the people understand that they have not only to move but to act.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This one talking.
And now if I could invite up to the stage for some closing remarks, Frederick and Xavier.
C'est moi qui commence. Bien. Merci à
Am I the one to start?
qui sont restés
So thank you to all of the brave ones that are still here to listen to this very short speech. I promise that I'm going to try and be very brief. Once a political representative usually says that, it means that it's going to last forever. But I promise I haven't been a political representative for long. I'm going to be brief. So this is really an honor for the city of Nîmes that I'm representing to be welcoming the second edition of the forum. And I really want to thank all of the organizers for the trust that they've given us, the trust that they gave me, and they gave to all of the teams for these past 2 days. We had a lot of meetings and meetups that were high-level meetings because we've had really quality presentation, quality speakers, and as the representative of the US, for tourism in the US, the fact that we'll have collaboration between the private and the public sector is paramount. We have different roles, but we do complement one another, and it's also the work of the political representative to establish a legislative framework so that we can prevent population from the climate change related risks, as the Ministry of Tourism from Jamaica said, and to make sure that we keep in mind the responsibility that we have, namely the sanitary responsibility. We do have private infrastructures are investing in transport or infrastructures or other innovations, including in the hospitality sector. It is important to see that the sector, we can see now that the sector, private sector, is able to fund and have a lot of means to help out and support, even though sometimes the timeline are a bit different from one sector to another. However, as the Ministry of Tourism from Portugal was saying, while we live in uncertain times, it is important for us to be flexible and make sure that we're able to agree and work together, just as we did during the pandemic. So we have to work on tourism, we need to engage the local community and the staff working in the tourism sector, because we're all part of the solution. These days are compliant with our strategic choices. These 2 days of conferences, comfort us in the work that we've done so far. We know that young consumers are more and more aware of the environmental issues, which means that we need to manage our energy consumption as good as possible. Since the 24th of February, we know that politically has been more complex in the world, and so thank you to the organizers for having invited our Ukrainian counterparts. If we talk about resilience today, I think that we should also honor the resilience that Ukrainians are showing. Thank you so much to the organizers for choosing the city of Nîmes. Thank you to all of the partners from the regions, from the city, and from the department for supporting us. And I cannot wait for the third edition of A World for Travel. Thank you.
Moi, je ne vais pas m'installer là-bas, ça va être trop long. On est tous très fatigués après ces 2 jours.
I'm not going to sit here because it's going to be too long. We're really tired after those 2 days. And so I'm going to speak in French because after 2 days of speaking English, I'm really tired. I really wanted to thank you for attending. And I really wanted to thank the city of Nîmes who's been welcoming us. It's a beautiful city. I'm not going to go over what you've said in the introduction. But yes, this city has been welcoming us with open arms, and thank you, Xavier, and thank you to Xavier Labonne as well. He's always in the shadows, but he does a lot of things, and the region, the department, and the city have been all working together thanks to them. We also want to thank all the partners that have been supporting this action, this edition, of the partners that you could see on the screen, but also on stage. And also, just as you said, I really remember, what our Ukrainian counterparts shared with us. We had, it was really moving, and I also wanted to bounce back on what Peter was saying earlier, and saying that we should stop talking about futurists, but we should be talking about presentists. And I think it was a great sentence because this is exactly the point of A World for Travel. You were brave. We had a lot of different working sessions, a lot of different topics, really high-level topics. So thank you so much for your patience. You're the ones that resisted until the end, and you'll be the first one to come back when we'll do a third edition. So thank you.
If I can say a few final words. First of all, Xavier and all the people here in Nîmes, thank you so much for having us here, for showing us your remarkable city with such great history and culture. I hope we had a chance in our spare moments, which weren't many, to get out there and really enjoy what this city has to offer in terms of storytelling and history. Thank you so much. Please. To Frederick and Christian for putting this together, as they did last year, for Lori Myers, wherever you may happen to be in the ether space, for doing all that hard work over weeks and weeks and weeks. We thank you. Rajan, sitting in the audience there, for all of his hard work and all the sessions. And thank all of you both here in the room and watching us virtually. Thank you for coming. And I think I can say, see you next year. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Peter, and Rajan, thank you.